Welcome back to another sinister novel.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another sinister reading with your friend, Rouse. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you all for listening to all of the stories that I've been posting lately, and I would also like to invite anybody who happens to write their own stories that may be similar in content or context to the ones that I post, to please by all means get in contact with me through my Instagram or through my Discord or even through my YouTube, and let's discuss maybe reading some of your stories. I think it would be much better on the channel and much more entertaining for you in the long run. So, with that in mind, and without further ado, let's get to tonight's story. Tonight's story is called The Smile. So let's sit back, relax, and get ready to read. The accident happened on a Tuesday afternoon in October. Sophia Chen had been rushing. She was late for volleyball practice. She had taken a shortcut through the parking lot garage beneath her school. Her skateboard had hit a loose piece of concrete, and she'd gone flying, face first, into a concrete pillar. She remembered the impact. The sound was like her entire skull cracking open. She remembered blood. So much blood. And then she remembered screaming. Not just hers, but other people's too. Other students finding her, teachers calling for help, the ambulance. She remembered waking up in the hospital with her entire face bandaged. The doctors explained what happened. Her cheekbones were fractured in 3 places. Her nasal septum was shattered. She'd lost 4 teeth. The impact had damaged her orbital bone around her left eye. She'd need surgery. Extensive surgery. "We'll need to do reconstructive surgery," her surgeon, Dr. Reeves, explained. He was a man in his 50s with kind eyes and an air of absolute competence. "We'll be using some new biometric implants that have just been approved by the FDA. They are titanium-based with synthetic tissue integration. They'll look completely natural and will actually be stronger than bone." "Will I look like myself?" Sophia asked. Her voice sounded strange with her jaw wired shut. "You'll look better than yourself," Dr. Reeves said with a smile. "These implants are designed with optimal facial geometry in mind. Your face will be perfectly proportioned, symmetrical, beautiful." Her mother looked relieved. "That sounds wonderful," she said. Sophia felt less sure, but she was in pain, and the promise of looking beautiful and perfectly proportioned seemed like a good thing at the time. The surgery took 6 hours. When Sophia woke up, her entire face was numb, bandaged, encased in gauze and tape, and for the first week she couldn't see what she looked like. The doctors kept the bandages on, monitoring for infection and swelling. But even through the numbness, she could feel something wrong. There was a tightness in her face, a pulling sensation at the corners of her mouth, an uncomfortable pressure around her cheekbones. Her therapist said it was normal for surgical swelling, that it would go away as she healed. On the 10th day, they removed the bandages. Sophia looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Her face was different in a way that was hard to articulate. The features were her features. Same nose shape, same eye color, same chin structure, but they were subtly different, more symmetrical, more proportional, more perfect. And there was something else. She was smiling. Not consciously. Her face was just arranged in a gentle, pleasant smile. Her lips were curved upward just slightly. Her eyes had a warm, friendly expression. It was a beautiful smile, the kind of smile that made people like you instantly. But Sophia wasn't smiling. She wasn't trying to smile. Her face was just smiling. Dr. Reeves, she said, alarmed. Why is my face like this? Like what? He asked, coming to look. I'm smiling. I'm not trying to smile. My face is just frozen in this smile. Dr. Reeves examined her carefully. That's a surgical edema, he said. The swelling is causing your facial muscles to be in a slightly relaxed state. Once the swelling goes down, you'll be able to make different expressions. Don't worry, this is completely normal. But as the weeks passed, the smile didn't fade. The swelling went down, her face healed, the numbness faded, but no matter what Sophia tried to do, her face remained arranged in a gentle, pleasant smile. When she tried to frown, her mouth would curve downward just for a moment before returning to the smile. When she tried to look serious, her eyes would crinkle with that warm friendliness. When she tried to look angry, it came across as smiling through anger. Her face had decided how it wanted to feel, regardless of how she actually felt. At first, Sophia thought something was wrong with the surgery. She called Dr. Reeves and demanded another appointment. He examined her face carefully, taking measurements, moving her jaw and cheeks in different directions. I see what you mean, he said finally. The smile does seem to be a resting position for your new facial structure. But it's not a problem. Many people would pay for a face that naturally smiles like this. It's attractive, friendly. People respond positively to it. But I don't want my face to always be smiling, Sophia said, frustrated. I want to have different expressions. You do have different expressions, Dr. Reeves said. You are just expressing them on the base of a smile rather than a neutral face. It's actually quite nice. You'll get used to it. But Sophia didn't get used to it. What she did notice, though, was that Dr. Reeves was right about one thing. People did respond positively to her face. At school, people seemed to like her more. Teachers called on her more often in class and seemed to be more receptive of her answers. Students who'd never talked to her before started saying hi in the hallways. Guys who'd never noticed her before were suddenly interested. Even the school principal complimented her on her positive attitude, all based on a smile that she wasn't even trying to make. Something else started happening, something more disturbing. Sophia began to feel the smile. Not physically. She still couldn't control her facial muscles to change her expression, but emotionally, psychologically. She'd be sitting in a class feeling frustrated or bored, and she'd think about how her face looked. And then she'd start to feel happy, content, friendly, like the smile was telling her emotions how to feel. At first, she fought it. She'd tell herself that she was just imagining it, that her face wasn't actually influencing her moods. But the more she paid attention, the more undeniable it became. Her face was making her feel happy. This is insane, she told her therapist, Dr. Patel. My face is controlling my emotions. Dr. Patel wrote something down in her notes. I think what's happening is that you're experiencing what we call embodied recognition, she said. Your facial expression isn't influencing your natural emotional state. It's actually a well-documented phenomenon. When people smile, they tend to feel happier. It's not that your face is controlling you. It's that your brain is responding to your facial signals. But I'm not choosing to smile, Sophia said. My face is choosing. In a sense, yes, Dr. Patel said. Your new face has a default resting position that looks like a smile, but that doesn't mean it's controlling you. You need to learn to work with it. Over the next month, Sophia noticed other people changing too. Or rather, she noticed other people in town who'd apparently had the same surgery as her. There was a new teacher at her school, Miss Hassan, who had had the same slightly too perfect face, the same gentle, permanent smile. When Sophia asked around, she learned that Mrs. Hassan had recently had reconstructive surgery after a car accident. There was a cashier at the grocery store with the same face, a woman at the bank, a man at the mall, a girl in her grade who had apparently had cosmetic enhancement surgery. They all had that same smile, the same perfect proportions, the same slightly uncanny beauty. Sophia researched the biometric implants Dr. Reeves had used. She found the company that made them, Symmetry Core. She looked at their website. It was full of before and after photos of the patients who had used their surgeries, and every single after photo showed that same thing, a perfect, beautiful, smiling face. In the testimonials, people raved about how the surgery had changed their lives, how people treated them better now, how they felt happier, how everything had improved just by having the optimal facial geometry. One testimonial said, "I feel like I'm finally the best version of myself. The surgery didn't just fix my face, it fixed my entire life." Another, "With these implants, I don't have to worry about looking angry or sad or difficult. People just automatically like me. It's amazing." A third, "The smile is permanent, and I'm grateful for that because now I never have to hide who I am. I'm always showing the real me. Happy, friendly, grateful to be alive." Sophia scrolled through testimonial after testimonial, and they all said variations of the same thing, that the permanent smile was good, that it had improved their lives, that they wouldn't change it. Sophia decided to look deeper. She contacted 3 of the people who'd written testimonials and asked for interviews. 2 of them never responded. The third, a woman named Rebecca, agreed to meet her at a coffee shop. Rebecca had clearly had the surgery. She had the perfect face, the perfect smile. But when she talked, something felt off. "You're one of them," Sophia said carefully. "You got the implants." "Yes," Rebecca said, smiling that perfect smile. "6 months ago. It was the best decision I ever made." "How so?" "Before the surgery, I was angry all the time," Rebecca said. "I had a terrible resting face. People found me intimidating, unfriendly. My relationships suffered. My career suffered. But now, with the implants, people see me as warm and approachable. I've gotten a promotion. My family relationships have improved. I'm just better." "But you can't change your expression," Sophia said. "Don't you feel trapped?" Rebecca tilted her head, and even tilting her head seemed to make it look like her smile was more pleasant. "Trapped? No. I feel liberated. I don't have to pretend anymore. This smile is the real me, the me that was always underneath but was afraid to show. Now I can't help but show it." "But what if you're sad?" Sophia asked. "What if you actually feel something other than happy?" "I don't," Rebecca said simply. "I feel happy, grateful, peaceful. Isn't that what everyone wants?" There was something in Rebecca's eyes that scared Sophia, kind of a blankness, almost like the person behind the smile had been gently removed. Sophia went to Dr. Reeves with her concerns. "I want the implants removed," she said bluntly. Dr. Reeves looked surprised. "Why? Your surgery was a complete success. Your face is healing beautifully." "Because my face isn't my face anymore," Sophia said. "And I think the implants are affecting my emotions. I think they're making me happier than I should be. I think they're controlling me." "They're not controlling you," Dr. Reeves said. He pulled up some scans on his computer. "Look, the implants are biologically integrated into your facial tissue. They're not active. They're not sending signals. They're just providing structure. The smile is a natural result of the geometry of your face. Your emotions are your own." "Then why do I feel happier every time I think about my face?" Sophia asked. "Because having an attractive face that people respond positively to actually does improve your mood," Dr. Reeves said. "That's normal. That's healthy. You're not being controlled. You're just experiencing the psychological benefits of looking your best." But something in his tone seemed off, like he was reciting something he had been told to say. "I still want them removed," Sophia said. "I can't do that," Dr. Reeves said. "The implants are fully integrated into your bone structure now. Removing them would require re-breaking your face and doing the entire surgery again. The trauma would be significant. I wouldn't recommend it." "So I'm stuck like this forever?" "You're not stuck with anything," Dr. Reeves said, and his own smile seemed to widen slightly. "You have a beautiful face that makes people respond positively to you. Most people would spend their whole lives trying to achieve that. You have it now. I think you should learn to appreciate it." He dismissed her. And as she left his office, Sophia realized that Dr. Reeves was smiling that same perfect smile. The same smile she saw in all the other people who had had the surgery. The same smile she saw in Rebecca. Sophia started researching Symmetry Core more aggressively. She discovered that the company had been operating for 5 years, that they performed over 50,000 surgeries in that time, that they had offices in every major city, that they were expanding rapidly. She also discovered something else. The rate of adoption was accelerating. More people were getting the surgery every month, and they were all getting the same face, the same smile. She dug into the company's background: who owned it, who ran it, where the technology came from. What she found was a maze of shell corporations and anonymous investors, but at the core of it all was a name: Dr. Marcus Vail. Dr. Vail was a neuroscientist who published papers on facial geometry and emotional response. His research suggested that the human face could be optimized for maximum social acceptance, that by adjusting the proportions of facial features to match certain mathematical ratios, you could create faces that people instinctively liked and trusted. His later research went farther. He suggested that by perfectly proportioning the face and fixing it in a pleasant expression, you could actually influence the wearer's emotional state, that the face could train the brain to be happy. And his final research, the most disturbing, suggested that a coordinated network of these optimized faces could influence the emotional state of entire communities. That by spreading the surgery, by getting more people to wear these perfect smiling faces, you could raise the baseline emotional state of society, make everyone happier, more compliant, more cooperative. Sophia felt cold. She tried to warn people. She made a video explaining what she'd found. She posted it on social media. She sent emails to the news outlets. She tried to tell her friends about what Symmetry Corp was doing. But something strange happened. The video disappeared from social media within hours. The news outlets didn't respond. And when she tried to tell her friends about her discoveries, they looked at her like she was paranoid, crazy. One of them even suggested she talk to a therapist about her obsession with her face. More troubling, she started noticing that people with perfect smiles were everywhere. Not just the ones she had seen before. It was like they were multiplying. Teachers with the smile, students with the smile. Her own parents came home one day and casually mentioned they had been thinking about getting the surgery. It could help with my resting angry face, her mother said, smiling at her father with that too perfect smile. And people would take me more seriously at work if I looked more approachable. Sophia felt panic rising in her chest. Mom, no, you can't have the surgery. You don't understand what it does. What does it do? Her mother asked, genuinely confused. It controls you, Sophia said. It makes you happier than you should be. It makes you compliant. It's a system designed to make people easier to control. Her mother and father exchanged a glance, the kind of glance parents exchange when they're concerned about their child's mental health. Sophia, her father said gently, I think maybe you're dealing with some anxiety about your own surgery. I really think you should talk to Dr. Patel about this. Sophia realized that nobody would believe her. The implants were working exactly as designed. They were making people happier, and because people were happier, they were less likely to question the system, less likely to investigate, less likely to resist, and more importantly, they were more likely to get the surgery themselves. She started to see the pattern clearly. The company would offer the surgery to people who had had facial injuries or wanted cosmetic enhancements. Those people would get the surgery, get the smile, and become happier and more compliant. And then they'd convince their friends and family to get the surgery too. The spread was exponential. Over the course of 3 months, she saw more and more people in her town getting the smile. The percentage increased from nearly 5 to 40%. And with each new person who got the smile, the culture shifted slightly. People were happier, more content, more accepting of things as they were. There were no more protests about anything, no more arguments, no more discord. Everyone was just smiling, content, happy. It was horrifying. Sophia tried to find information about Dr. Marcus Vale, but he seemed to not exist. There were no photos, no public appearances, no contact information. It was like the man had vanished after creating his technology. She did find one interview from 10 years ago about symmetry core. In it, Vale talked about his vision. The human face, he said, is one of the most powerful tools we have for social control. When people smile, others respond with positivity, with trust, with compliance. But most people don't smile. Most people walk around with expressions of anger or fear or sadness. And because of that, society is fractured. People don't trust each other. There's conflict everywhere. But what if we could change all of that? What if we could make it so that the default human expression was genuinely a smile? What if people's faces actually matched what we want society to be? Happy, grateful, and content. That's my vision. A world where everyone is smiling. Not because they're forced to, but because their faces make them feel like smiling. Because their emotions have been optimized to match their expressions. That's the future I'm building. Sophia watched the video 3 times, and each time she felt more hopeless, because he was succeeding. By month 6, nearly 60% of her town was wearing a smile. The transformation was eerie. Violent crime had dropped to nearly zero, petty theft was gone, road rage didn't exist, there were no arguments at work, no fights at school, people were just peaceful, content, happy. Crime rates in the city had dropped 80%. Overall mental health seemed to be better in town. Productivity at work had increased. By every measurable metric, the town was better, except that it wasn't. What Sophia saw was people that were empty, people who had been slowly convinced that their happiness was more important than authenticity, more important than truth, more important than free will. The people with the smile couldn't be upset, couldn't be angry at injustice, couldn't protest, couldn't resist. They could only smile and be grateful and accept things as they were. And the people without the smile were starting to be seen as problems, obstacles in the harmonious society. Sophia's own face continued to change, or rather, her relationship with her face changed. The smile wasn't just physical anymore, it was becoming part of her. She watched herself smiling at genuinely terrible things, smiling when she should be angry, smiling when she should be sad. And she tried to resist it, but her face wouldn't cooperate. It was like the implants were slowly eroding her ability to have authentic emotional expressions, like they were retraining her brain to feel whatever her face was showing. She was becoming like Rebecca, like the others, slowly disappearing into the smile. In her darkest moments, Sophia understood the appeal. It would be easy to just give in, to stop fighting, to let the smile take over completely, to accept that maybe Dr. Vale was right. Maybe a world of smiling, content people was better than a world full of anger and suffering. But she couldn't accept that, because if she did, there would be no one left to remember what authenticity was, what real emotion felt like, what genuine humanity meant. Sophia found the group through a carefully coded message on a forum she almost didn't check. There were others, people who had had the surgery, but had found ways to resist it, ways to maintain the authentic emotional expression despite the implant's pressure towards happiness. They were scattered across the country, but they were building something, a resistance. They shared techniques, ways to suppress the forced smile by tensing facial muscles, ways to build mental walls up against the emotional manipulation, ways to document what was happening and to preserve that knowledge for when and if the tide ever turned. One of them, a man named David, had found something else, a way to remove the implants. It was dangerous. It required re-breaking the face and doing major reconstructive surgery. Many people didn't survive it. Those who did suffered chronic pain and disfigurement, but they survived with an authentic face. Sophia scheduled the surgery. The night before, as she looked at herself in the mirror one last time, she barely recognized the person staring back at her. The smile had been there so long, she'd almost forgotten it wasn't really her, almost forgotten what her real face looked like underneath. The surgery was brutal. Dr. Reeves had refused to do it, of course, said it was medically inadvisable. So Sophia had to find someone else, someone in the resistance who had learned how to do the procedure. The pain was indescribable, worse than the original accident. But when it was over, when the bandages came off, Sophia saw her real face for the first time in 8 months. It was still beautiful, because the original implants had given her perfect, beautiful features. But this was asymmetrical again, real. Her left eye was slightly higher than her right, her smile was lopsided, her face could now move through the full range of expressions. It was imperfect. It was hers. The removal of the implants didn't cure her urge to smile, though. That came from deeper, from the way her brain had been retrained by 8 months of forced happiness. She still struggled with the impulse to smile at inappropriate times, still had to consciously access her authentic emotions. But at least now, she had a choice. She met with the other members of the resistance. They were planning something bigger than just removing the implants. They were trying to expose Symmetry Corp, to reveal what was really happening, to warn the world before the procedure spread too far. They've already expanded to 40 countries, David said, and the adoption rate is accelerating. In 6 months, more than half of the world will be wearing these faces. Why doesn't anyone stop them? Sophia said. Why isn't the government doing anything? Because the government is smiling too, David said. The leaders got the surgery first. Now they're all so happy and content that they're not interested in stopping anything. They're just implementing Vale's vision, creating a more harmonious world. And the masses are following because happiness is contagious. Because when everyone around you is smiling, eventually you smile too. Sophia became the voice for the resistance. She started a website documenting what was happening. She gave anonymous interviews to journalists. She worked with the resistance to get evidence of Symmetry Corp's intentions into the hands of the people who might care. And slowly, more people began to wake up. More people began to understand that the constant happiness wasn't a good thing. That authentic emotion, including sadness, anger, and fear, was essential to being human. That a society of smiling, compliant people was a dystopia disguised as a utopia. Some people chose to have the implants removed like Sophia had. Most people didn't. The choice to stay smiling was easier. The choice to remain happier was simpler. But a growing minority understood what was at stake, and they began to resist. In a world where over 70% of the population was wearing that smile, where an entire generation was being raised by smiling, compliant parents, where authentic human emotion was becoming something rare and precious, Sophia held onto her imperfect face and her complicated emotions like a sacred trust. Because authenticity mattered, even, especially, when that authenticity was painful, messy, difficult, and real. As long as there were people like her remembering that, there was hope that someday, somehow, the world might remember how to frown again. Thank you for joining me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is your reader, Raz. Before you go, I'd like to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with anyone you think might be interested. If you're already asleep, then listen to the next one. Good night and sweet dreams, my little nightmare.